My wife is keeping a young boy toy. When I rushed to the private room to catch them in the act, they were passionately kissing. The boy toy was stunned for a moment when he saw me. Then his eyes cleared. I know you're her husband, but I'm sorry. She and I are truly in love. Without a word, I grabbed a bottle off the table. Then let's celebrate your true love by smashing your head open. Charlotte, my wife, couldn't help but roll her eyes when she saw me. The impatience on her face was plain to see. She slowly scanned everyone in the room with her eyes. There's a mole, Charlotte sneered. She exuded a strong sense of oppression, and our mutual friends were all too afraid to even breathe loudly, shrinking their heads like quails. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I looked at the young man next to Charlotte who resembled me 5 or 6 parts. Then I glanced at the Armani shirt he was wearing that cost thousands. William, are you going to get out of here on your own? Or do I have to break your legs and have you carried out? William was stunned for a moment. Then he tightened his grip on Charlotte's hand, emboldened by her support. You old man, all you have is some stinking money. You can give her a lot, but you can't give her love. Do you even know what love is? I'll say it again. She and I are truly in love. Why do people like you always have to use worldly prejudices to oppress us? She's not happy with you at all. I feel sorry for her. I just want to make her happy. As William spoke, he even pretended to have tears in his eyes. Charlotte turned her head to look at him. A woman close to 30 suddenly had cheeks that flushed like a young girl, and the corners of her mouth, harder to suppress than an AK, exposed the ripples in her heart. Her eyes even began to glisten with tears, completely different from the disgusted expression she had when she saw me. I didn't have time to care about these two's heart-fluttering moment. Raising my hand, I smashed the bottle in my hand hard over William's head. With a dull thud, shards of glass and liquor mingled with blood splattered everywhere. William didn't even register what had happened before he pitched forward, knocking over the glasses and fruit platter on the table. He clutched his head and groaned, bright red blood seeping through his fingers. Charlotte, in a reflexive attempt to protect William, had her wrist cut, leaving a bloody streak. But she didn't care about herself, frantically checking William's wound. Baby, my sweet baby, how are you? Does it hurt? Charlotte's voice trembled, laced with sobs. She gently stroked William's back with one hand, while the other repeatedly dabbed at the blood on his head with a tissue. The white tissue was quickly stained crimson. Charlotte looked up at me, her eyes filled with venom. George, are you fucking insane? Murderer. I'll have the police execute you. How the hell did I marry a violent maniac like you? She screamed hysterically. At this moment, William, nestled in Charlotte's arms, suddenly spoke. He weakly buried his head in Charlotte's chest. Sister, I'm okay. Don't be sad. It'll break my heart. As he spoke, he reached out, wiping away the tears from the corners of Charlotte's eyes, and gently caressed the cut on her wrist. His movements were gentle, his eyes so full of affection they were almost dripping. I rolled my eyes. This guy was putting on a show even with a serious injury. No wonder he could make Charlotte so infatuated. Sure enough, Charlotte burst into tears. She cradled William's face with heartache, tears falling like broken pearls. Seeing this, William looked anxious and quickly comforted her. Sweet baby, be good. Don't cry, okay? Baby, let's go, I'll take you to the hospital. Charlotte took a deep breath, as if trying to restrain her overflowing emotions. She struggled to help William up, coaxing him in a soft voice. However, I interrupted their tender moment once again. I stopped Charlotte and William at the entrance of the private room as they were about to leave. Charlotte's beautiful eyes widened as she glared at me fiercely. George, what do you want now? I ignored her and slapped William directly. Slap. William's head snapped to the side from the blow, and blood began to seep from the corner of his mouth. Who did you call an old man? I'm only 28 this year. Not that much older than you, am I? William clutched his face in pain, his eyes darting around, clearly intimidated. And I grabbed the shirt he was wearing. This shirt is mine. Give it back. Hearing my words, the people I brought with me understood and immediately stepped forward to strip William's clothes off. What are you doing? Let him go. Seeing this, Charlotte went crazy, punching and kicking, scratching and clawing at the people I brought, acting like a shrew. But it was all for show, not causing any real damage. Soon, William's shirt was torn off, revealing a skinny physique. His ribs were clearly visible, his shoulders narrow, his arms thin and long, making him look fragile. But Charlotte seemed to like this type. Under the lights of the private room, I could clearly see that his fair skin was covered in a dense layer of hickeys. Charlotte became anxious and suddenly raised her hand, slapping me hard across the face. Slap! The slap was loud and crisp, and I felt my face go numb, my ears ringing. Married for 5 years, and I never knew Charlotte was so strong. "This is what you owe, my sweetie," Charlotte said through gritted teeth. My head was turned by the blow, and I tasted a hint of blood in my mouth. "Also, that bottle earlier, George, remember this, I'll make you pay double." Charlotte pointed at me, saying each word distinctly. I grabbed Charlotte's restless wrist. "Those things on him, those are all your handiwork, aren't they?" Charlotte didn't blush or skip a beat. "So what if they are? If you have a problem with it, you can find someone else to sleep with." "Heh, is that a tacit admission?" As soon as she said this, all eyes in the private room turned to her. Then they all turned to me. To their disappointment, I didn't respond, because I knew that, at least in public, even if Charlotte had lost all basic decency, I couldn't go crazy like her. I pointed at Charlotte and said, "Oh, right, you said I'm a violent man, so let me ask you, in 5 years of marriage, even though you've put quite a few green hats on my head, have I ever touched you with a single finger?" Charlotte struggled a few times, trying to shake off my hand, but after all, I was a grown man, and she couldn't break free. "I admit you're good at pretending, but I also know you'll slip up sooner or later, just like today," Charlotte scoffed with disdain. After speaking, she reached out to help William, wanting to leave. Seeing this, the people I brought immediately stopped them. "My brother is injured too, you can't just care about this male mistress and not care about my brother." Only then did I notice that my neck had also been cut by a shard of the bottle, and blood was flowing down the wound. Charlotte saw my wound and said with a cold face, "Just deserts." My brother was so angry that he raised his fist. But I waved my hand, signaling my people to let them go. "Let them go," I said calmly. "After all, she's still your sister-in-law." The people I brought heard my words, and although their faces showed unwillingness, they still stepped aside. Charlotte supported William and left the private room without looking back. I looked at their backs and a smirk appeared on my lips. I knew the show was just getting started. Back home, I spent the whole night smoking in the living room. Charlotte didn't come back all night either. The smoke swirled, stinging my eyes shut. The crystal chandelier in the living room cast a pale light, glaringly illuminating my wedding photo with Charlotte. In the photo, Charlotte's face was mostly expressionless, while I was beaming as I held her waist. It was indeed ridiculous. As a husband in this arranged marriage, I acted with a clear conscience. But what about Charlotte? She didn't resist the marriage at the beginning, yet after the wedding, she blamed everything on me. She didn't dare to stand up to her family, so she vented all her anger on me. She felt that my appearance had ruined her happiness, that I had destroyed her right to pursue true love. So she cheated on me without restraint, using this as a way to get revenge. And that William was the man who had been in Charlotte's life the longest besides me. When I found out, Charlotte was unashamed and defiant. She said that William was different from me. She said that William had a purity in his eyes that I would never possess. Perhaps she was right. I had been groomed to be the heir to the family business since I was a child, and I was used to navigating the ins and outs of the business world, even the deceit and treachery. I had a huge enterprise to manage and couldn't be like William, doing nothing all day, just spending time with Charlotte, indulging in romance. I didn't have time to constantly guess Charlotte's thoughts, create new romantic gestures for her every day, and tolerate all her unreasonable demands. However, when Charlotte's family encountered difficulties, I was the one who overcame opposition in the board of directors to help her through the crisis. I would discuss all important company decisions with Charlotte, ensuring the interests of her and her family. Before Charlotte's blatant infidelity, I never doubted or suspected her, giving her ample trust and freedom. Even when I was busy with work, I never let Charlotte miss out on the necessary rituals. Yet, all of this paled in comparison to William's coquetry, sweet talk, and flattery. Since that day, Charlotte never returned home as expected. Eventually, the truth came out, and news of my separation from Charlotte reached the ears of the elders. So the family elders timely held a family dinner. The purpose was self-evident. After all, decades of commercial dealings had created intricate and inseparable ties between George's family and Charlotte's family. Therefore, my marriage with Charlotte could fall apart emotionally, but it could not end easily. After much deliberation, I called Charlotte. This was the first time we had contacted each other since she had left home. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. "Charlotte, Mom and Dad want us to have dinner together tonight. Where are you?" "I'll come pick you up," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. But on the other end of the phone, there was a rustling sound, like the rubbing of clothes. After a few seconds of silence, William's affected male voice rang out. With undisguised triumph and provocation, it was William. "Sister is already asleep." His tone was frivolous, as if he were declaring something. My fists clenched involuntarily. "Sister has been taking care of me day and night these past few days, and she's very tired. Please don't bother her anymore." He paused, with a hint of sarcasm in his voice. Hearing this, I couldn't help but frown. What kind of care was Charlotte giving him? How was she taking care of him? "Sister doesn't love you at all. I won't allow you to pester her anymore." Then there was a busy tone on the other end of the phone, and William hung up. My phone slipped from my palm and fell heavily on the carpet, but it didn't make a sound. I closed my eyes, trying to suppress the surging emotions in my heart. After a long time, I picked up the phone from the ground. I attended the family dinner alone. As I entered the gates of Charlotte's family estate, my father-in-law was seated at the head of the table, his face gloomy. Seeing me alone, his brow furrowed even deeper. I pretended not to notice, walked straight to his side, and greeted him calmly. "Dad, Mom, I'm late." My father-in-law said nothing, merely pointed to the seat beside him, signaling me to sit down. After I sat down, my mother-in-law sighed, breaking the silence. "Charlotte didn't come with you?" The hand holding my teacup tightened, and I forced a smile. "She has company matters to attend to and couldn't make it." My father-in-law slammed his hand on the table. His tone displeased. "Charlotte is becoming more and more outrageous." I remained silent, simply raising my teacup and taking a light sip. Seeing that I didn't respond, a hint of embarrassment flashed across my father-in-law's face. He picked up the mutai and personally poured me a drink, then patted my shoulder. "George, come on, have a few drinks with your father-in-law." "All right, Dad." After a few drinks, my father-in-law suddenly put down his glass. "George, I know you're a capable young man. Charlotte has been spoiled by us and is a bit willful. Don't hold it against her." His tone was somewhat ingratiating, yet also probing. After all, he knew that his daughter had wronged me, and that I was the one wielding power in the company. We men have to be magnanimous. Some things we just turn a blind eye to, can't let them harm the long-standing relationship between George's family and Charlotte's family. I smiled without a word. Seeing that my attitude was still agreeable, my father-in-law continued, "George, you know that our two families have been cooperating for so many years, and your marriage with Charlotte was also for the sake of closer ties between the two families." Before he could finish, a commotion came from the entrance. The doors were flung open, and Charlotte and William walked in, their fingers intertwined. I stopped Charlotte and William at the entrance of the private room as they were about to leave. Charlotte's beautiful eyes widened as she glared at me fiercely. "George, what do you want now?" I ignored her and slapped William directly. Smack! William's head snapped to the side from the blow, and blood began to seep from the corner of his mouth. "Who did you just call an old man? I'm only 28 this year. Not that much older than you, am I?" William covered his face in pain, his eyes darting around, clearly a bit intimidated. And I grabbed his shirt. "This shirt is mine, right? Give it back." Hearing my words, the people I brought understood and immediately stepped forward, starting to strip William's clothes off. "What are you doing? Let him go." Seeing this, Charlotte went crazy, punching and kicking, scratching and clawing at the people I brought, like a shrew. But it only served as a theatrical performance, causing no real harm. Soon, William's shirt was ripped off, revealing a scrawny physique. His ribs were clearly visible, his shoulders narrow, his arms thin, and he looked fragile overall. Yet Charlotte was particularly fond of this type. Under the lights of the private room, I could clearly see that his fair skin was covered in a dense array of hickeys. Charlotte became frantic and suddenly raised her hand, slapping me hard across the cheek. Smack! The slap was loud and crisp, and I felt half my face go numb, with a ringing in my ears. After 5 years of marriage, I never knew Charlotte was so strong. "This is what you owe, my darling," Charlotte said through gritted teeth. I was struck, and my head turned to the side, tasting a hint of blood in my mouth. "Also, that bottle earlier, George, remember this, I will make you pay back double." Charlotte pointed at me, saying each word distinctly. I clamped down on Charlotte's restless wrist. "Those things on him, those are all your handiwork, aren't they?" Charlotte didn't blush or skip a beat. "So what if they are? If you have a problem with it, you can go find someone else to sleep with." Heh! Is that a confirmation? As soon as these words came out, all eyes in the private room turned to her. Then they all turned to me. To their disappointment, I didn't respond. Because I knew that, at least in public, even if Charlotte had lost all basic decency, I couldn't act as crazily as she did. I pointed at Charlotte and said, "Oh, right, you said I'm a violent man. Then let me ask you, in 5 years of marriage, even though you've given me plenty of reasons to be jealous, have I ever laid a finger on you?" Charlotte struggled a few times, trying to shake off my hand, but after all, I was a grown man, and she couldn't break free. "I admit you're good at pretending, but I also know you'll eventually slip up, just like today." Charlotte snorted dismissively. With that, she reached out to help William, wanting to leave. Seeing this, the people I brought immediately stopped them. "My brother is also injured. I'm saying you can't just care about this male gigolo and ignore my big brother." Only then did I notice that my neck had also been cut by shards of the bottle, and blood was flowing down the wound. Charlotte saw my wound, her face cold, and said, "Just desserts." The brothers I brought were so angry that they raised their fists. But I waved my hand, signaling my people to let them go. "Let them go," I said calmly. "After all, she's still your sister-in-law." My people heard my words, and although their faces showed unwillingness, they still made way. Charlotte supported William, leaving the private room without looking back. I watched their backs, a smile curving on my lips. I knew the good show was yet to come. The faces of my father-in-law and mother-in-law instantly turned ashen. "Ungrateful daughter! You!" my father-in-law roared, his finger shaking as he pointed at Charlotte. Charlotte interrupted him. "Since it's a family dinner, what's wrong with me bringing my family here?" She turned her head to look at William with affection. "In my heart, he is my family." "What nonsense are you spouting in front of George?" My mother-in-law couldn't help but scold. Charlotte seemed not to hear their angry reprimands, only casting a cold glance at me. She grabbed William and walked straight in front of me, deliberately showing me their tightly clasped hands. "George, I told you a long time ago I don't love you, we're over." My father-in-law finally couldn't bear it any longer and slapped Charlotte directly. Charlotte's head was turned by the blow, but she quickly raised her head stubbornly, her eyes showing not a trace of submission. "Why did you hit me?" My father-in-law was trembling with anger, pointing at her and roaring, "How dare you say that? Look at how you are now. For a gigolo, you don't even want your family." "Dad, you don't understand. He's not called a gigolo, he's called William. He's the person I love the most." Charlotte retorted without showing any weakness. "The person you love the most? Very well, very well." My father-in-law was so angry that he couldn't speak, and with a sudden wave of his hand, "Someone, bring me my cane." "Dad, calm down. What are you trying to do?" I pretended to want to stop him, but my mother-in-law grabbed me. "George, don't interfere. Let your dad teach her a lesson." My mother-in-law certainly felt sorry for her daughter, but she valued the family's reputation even more. My father-in-law held a black cane in his hand, which looked like it had been around for many years. He walked straight in front of Charlotte and raised the cane high in his hand. Snap! The cane struck Charlotte hard. "Ah!" Charlotte let out a scream, her body trembling violently. William's eyes were bloodshot, and he rushed up like a madman, trying to stop my father-in-law. "Get lost!" My father-in-law kicked him to the ground, and William was just a fragile person, unable to get up for a long time. "Uncle, stop it. Please stop it." William pleaded hoarsely, tears streaming down his face. Seeing that no one paid attention to him, he said again, "Uncle and Auntie, Why can't you accept two people who truly love each other? You are committing a crime. My father-in-law was too lazy to pay attention to him, and just swung the cane again and again. Snap, snap, snap. William lay on the ground, crying his heart out. Seeing this, Charlotte shouted, "Baby, I'm fine. Don't cry." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Are you two putting on Romeo and Juliet here? Who knew that? Charlotte suddenly turned the spearhead towards me. George, are you even a man? Are you just gonna watch me get bullied? Her voice was already a little hoarse, but my father-in-law still had no intention of stopping. Seeing this scene, I suddenly felt that Charlotte's rebellious personality now might be caused by this harsh upbringing. Finally, Charlotte couldn't take it anymore. She shouted, "Dad, stop hitting me. I'm pregnant." After receiving the shares gifted by my father-in-law, I became the largest shareholder in the company. That's why I haven't divorced Charlotte yet. Although we're not divorced, it's practically the same as being divorced, because she hasn't come home. I only see her at the company, dealing with official matters with a cold face and speaking as little as possible. This day, I actually saw William at the company. He was wearing a black suit, even wearing sunglasses indoors with earphone wires plugged in his ears. I frowned. "What are you doing here?" William took off his sunglasses and smiled triumphantly. "George, what a coincidence. I'm now Charlotte's personal bodyguard." He deliberately puffed out his chest, showing off non-existent muscles. You know, she's pregnant, so to prevent malicious people from getting close, I have to protect her closely. I sneered. Close protection? Or providing some other clothes services? I glanced at his thighs, which weren't even as thick as my arms, and couldn't help but roll my eyes. William's expression changed slightly. I couldn't be bothered to waste any more words with him and directly called the HR director. When did our company stoop so low that even gigolos can come and collect a salary? The HR director was stunned for a moment, looked at me, then at William with a look of embarrassment. "This is Charlotte's intention." William gritted his teeth. "George, I know you're jealous of me, but please stop persecuting me, or I will take legal action." Before William could finish speaking, Charlotte's voice suddenly came from behind, with coldness and warning. "George, even if you took my father's shares, it doesn't mean you can do whatever you want in the company." She walked to William's side, gently took his arm, and stared at me with sharp eyes. William returned a deep look to her. "William is my bodyguard, you have no right to interfere." Charlotte's voice was even colder. "As long as I'm in this company, William will be my bodyguard." Her words were full of determination, without a trace of room for discussion. I clenched my fists, trying to suppress the anger in my heart. I told myself in my heart that a small impatience ruins great plans. If everything goes well, Charlotte won't be staying in this company for long. Even I didn't expect retribution to come so quickly. Charlotte led a team to discuss an important project, and something went wrong. The competitors were unscrupulous and hired thugs to hurt people. Although the team was equipped with security, it was still a complete mess. When I received the news, I took a long time to digest it. "What's going on? Didn't you arrange security?" I questioned the security supervisor on the other end of the phone. "George," the other side came prepared, "we don't have enough manpower." The security supervisor's voice trembled, obviously frightened by the sudden change. "What about Charlotte? How is she?" "Charlotte? She's fine, but William? What happened to William?" I could almost imagine William, that idiot, cowering at the scene. He seems to have hindered more than helped." The security supervisor stammered. "What do you mean? Explain clearly." "William, after all, is not a professional security guard. The situation was urgent at the time. William was directly frightened, and regardless, he drilled backwards, pushed down two bodyguards in the chaos, and tripped one. And Noah from the team was stabbed by a gangster to protect Charlotte. As a result, William, seeing Noah fall to the ground, wanted to help. He pressed hard on Noah's wound, trying to stop the bleeding. What? I had a bad feeling. Noah was already seriously injured, and he pressed him like that. He bled profusely on the spot. My body stiffened. "William, you really are more than a hindrance, less than a help. So what's the situation now?" I tried to calm myself down. "Noah is being rescued in the hospital," the doctor said. The situation is not very optimistic. Noah is still in the ICU. His family is devastated, feeling that Noah has suffered an undeserved misfortune. They want to hold someone accountable and are demanding a large sum of compensation. I understand their feelings. After all, Noah has worked diligently for the company for so many years. This accident also happened because of a company project. However, Charlotte is not happy about it. She came to me and said, Noah has worked under you for so many years, and you have a close relationship with him. Talk to his family and tell them to stop making trouble. Charlotte's tone was calm, as if she were ordering something completely normal. I looked at the woman in front of me, speechless. Someone is on the verge of death, and you're telling me to tell his family not to make trouble? I paused and continued, also, why should I help you? Charlotte looked at me in disbelief. I'm your wife. She frowned slightly, seemingly very dissatisfied with my attitude. So, she remembers she's my wife? But, she soon won't be. Charlotte straightened her back and said in a forceful tone, the compensation also belongs to marital property. And don't forget, I'm pregnant. I smiled, took the divorce agreement from the drawer, and threw it in front of Charlotte. Then go find the child's father. Seeing Charlotte again was at home. I laughed. Well, Charlotte, do you even remember which way the door opens? Charlotte's face changed slightly, but she didn't say anything. She went straight to me, sat down, and started massaging my legs. Her head was lowered, her movements gentle, completely devoid of her usual arrogance. Her tone softened as well. Honey, please, if you're willing to step in, there's still room for maneuver. I scoffed. The great Miss Charlotte, heiress of a prominent family, can't even come up with compensation money? Noah was stabbed protecting you, and your so-called bodyguard even made things worse, causing him to hemorrhage. Shouldn't you be responsible for the expenses? Charlotte's hands paused. Her pressure was very low. Since the last family banquet, my dad cut off my black card. It's not William's fault. It's all my problem. Please help me. Hearing this, the slight softening in my heart instantly turned cold again. Charlotte, is that gigolo really worth it? I shook off her hand. For him, you're willing to lose everything you have? Charlotte looked up. Her eyes were red, but she stubbornly refused to shed a tear. I told you you wouldn't understand. My sweetie is very pure. Not like you, she said firmly. I looked at her, feeling she was both ridiculous and pathetic. Fine, tomorrow at 10 in the morning, I'll call William to the conference room. You can watch from the surveillance room. 10 o'clock, conference room. When I pushed the door open, William was already there, looking unwell with faint dark circles under his eyes. It seemed he had been worrying a lot about the family's pursuit of accountability and compensation. I pulled out a chair, sat down, interlaced my fingers, propped them on the table, and looked directly into his eyes. I can pay this compensation for you. William was taken aback, as if he couldn't believe his ears. 1 million, not a penny less. William's eyes lit up, but quickly dimmed again. What's the condition? He asked tentatively, his voice a little hoarse. Leave Charlotte. Impossible. William stood up abruptly, his tone agitated. I love Charlotte. Our relationship is not something you can buy with a little money. Don't use money to humiliate me. I looked at him, a mocking smile on my lips. You should know. Charlotte and I are getting divorced soon. William's expression at this moment was wonderful. The corners of his mouth almost unable to suppress an upward curve. But she will leave with nothing, not getting a single penny. Which means she will be penniless. I paused deliberately. The color drained from William's face. He opened his mouth, as if wanting to say something, but swallowed it back. You should know that Charlotte has an older brother, who is the proper heir to Charlotte's family. After the divorce, Charlotte will most likely be expelled from the family. Charlotte's family will not acknowledge you, let alone your children. If I'm not mistaken, Charlotte's family has already cut off Charlotte's financial resources, right? William's face was pale, his body trembling slightly. He clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles white. The conference room was silent. Only the ticking of the clock on the wall could be heard. After a long while, William spoke again. I can leave Charlotte, but I want 5 million. I looked at him and curled my lips. Deal. When I walked into the surveillance room, Charlotte was slumped in a chair, her face pale and bloodless. She seemed possessed, repeating incessantly, impossible, this is impossible. Before I could say anything, Charlotte suddenly bolted out of the surveillance room like a madwoman. I followed her and saw her heading straight for the private office she had arranged for William. The office door was open. Charlotte rushed in and hysterically questioned William. "Didn't you say you loved me?" William was clearly taken aback by her sudden outburst and dropped the pretense. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Charlotte pointed at him, her voice trembling. "William, I'm asking you, is our love only worth 5 million? William sneered, his face full of impatience. "So all this time you were acting, and all those things you said to me were lies, right?" Charlotte's emotions completely broke down, and tears streamed down her face. William was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "You're a funny woman. You don't care about such a big company, and all you care about all day is whether I love you or not. What about our child? Don't you care about that either? Get rid of it. Even if it's born, it won't be recognized by Charlotte's family. So what's the use?" Charlotte was completely enraged by his attitude and slapped him across the face. The crisp sound of the slap echoed loudly in the silent office. William was stunned. He covered his face. Charlotte had completely lost her mind. She pointed at William's nose and cursed. "I'll beat you to death, you scumbag." William, enraged by her insults, lost all patience and slapped Charlotte back. Smack! This slap was louder and harder than Charlotte's. Charlotte staggered and almost fell to the ground. Her eyes red, she stared intently at William. "Fine. Very good. William, you just wait. I won't let you get away with this." Charlotte screamed in anguish. With that, she stormed out of the office without looking back. At this moment, William saw me and said respectfully, "Sorry. Bro, you had to see that. I'm divorced from Charlotte. Charlotte and her family were initially unwilling, so I had to file for divorce. Given my separation from Charlotte and her long-term infidelity, the judgment was handed down quickly. More importantly, Charlotte essentially left with nothing. She didn't know that while she was absorbed in her dalliance with the young buck, I seemed to turn a blind eye, but in reality, I was busy transferring marital assets. 2 years was just enough time. She didn't expect that when I said in the conference room that I would make her leave with nothing, I wasn't testing William but was serious. What she didn't know even more was that from the beginning, I knew what Charlotte's family was planning when they married her off to me. They simply wanted to use her to devour our George family. So I had already made plans before the marriage. At the time, I thought that after the marriage, if Charlotte's family didn't cause trouble, I would still consider the many years of goodwill between the George family and Charlotte's family, and we could have a win-win situation. I would treat Charlotte well. Before Charlotte brazenly put a hat on me, that was indeed what I was doing. However, how did Charlotte treat me? So, while Charlotte was busy having affairs and Charlotte's family was busy cleaning up after her, I was busy sidelining them. And the 8% stake that Charlotte's father gifted me for free was the key to my comeback. I can only say that when it comes to acting, I'm the real movie king. And the female lead in this big show was not only kicked out of the house by Charlotte's family, but also lost her power in the company. She even lost her child due to multiple blows. When I heard this news, just like when I rushed into the bar's private room to catch her in the act, my heart actually didn't have much of a reaction. I pushed open the heavy wooden door of the bar's private room. The deafening music and multicolored lights instantly overwhelmed my senses. I scanned the room nonchalantly. William was sitting on the sofa, striking a pose of being surrounded by beauties. A busted bombshell nestled in his arms, her fingers painted with bright red nail polish tracing circles on his chest. Another blonde, blue-eyed foreign beauty was perched on his lap, holding a wine glass, occasionally feeding him a sip. "Hey, you're here," William said, greeting me with a smile. I nodded and sat down directly on the sofa. "You've been working hard lately," I said, my eyes falling on the forehead he had injured with a broken bottle. The scar was now almost invisible, only faintly visible under the lights. "Come on, bro, you're being too polite." William waved his hand dismissively. "A little scratch is nothing." He was right, actually. After all, I really gave him 5 million. After compensating Noah with 1 million, he still had 4 million left. More importantly, I also gave him 3% of the company's shares. Enough for him to live a life of pleasure, free from financial worries. It's just that I felt a bit embarrassed every day when acting with Charlotte. "But who told you to give me so much? You're something else, bro, so cunning," William said with a grin, flashing his pearly whites. I picked up a bottle from the table. Have you forgotten what happened the last time you said I was old? No, bro, I was wrong. William immediately surrendered. I put the bottle down, watching his retaliatory indulgence, and felt that he had indeed been wronged recently. After all, playing a weak, green tea male in front of Charlotte every day, I felt embarrassed just thinking about it. It wasn't easy. That's right, William is my cousin. After Charlotte cheated multiple times, I chose to arrange for my cousin to meet her. Fortunately, my cousin's acting skills were Oscar-worthy and didn't disappoint me. Settle down after you've had enough fun. I said, come work at my company then. This time, I won't let you be a bodyguard. Got it, bro.